tough as nails, we have crowned a champion. We started the day, 5 contestants left. That was Murph, Danny, Linda, Callie, and Myles. They had to go through 3 separate challenges, with the first 2 leading to eliminations before the final 3 faced off head to head in the final challenge. Let's just go straight from the start and we'll work our way through the episode tonight. We opened with all 5 of our contestants chopping wood. So we just kind of were on the heels of the woodworking challenge last week, and we opened the finale with more wood. The contestants were challenged with chopping, I believe, 25 pieces of wood down into firewood, where they had to all the pieces of wood had to be smaller than a certain size and stack that wood. And the fastest 3 moved on to the top 4, while the bottom 2 would go head to head for the final overtime of the season. This challenge looked like Danny was just going to run away with it. He was way ahead of everybody. And then all of a sudden, Linda, just slow and steady, starts cutting into Danny's lead. And all of a sudden, we're down to 2 pieces of wood left. And all of a sudden, Linda is ahead of Danny, and she takes home the win and is the first person to advance to the final 4. We then had Danny right on her heels to finish in second place, leaving us Murph, Myles, and Callie battling it out for the final position, the final safe spot, and where the other 2 would have to go to overtime. You could see Murph, he was bleeding all over his axe, all over the wood from his injury from the team finale, but he persevered, comes in third place, and sends Callie and Myles to overtime. In overtime, Myles and Callie were challenged with chiseling out the cores of 3 chunks of wood and placing them onto a peg. This was a slow, tedious challenge and took the contestants over half an hour of slowly chiseling into the wood, and it was almost painful to watch just how awful it looked like it was. Like, just half an hour non-stop nailing, holding the chisel right there the whole time. You could see Callie repeatedly smash her hand that was holding the chisel, and I honestly just felt bad for both Callie and Myles. This challenge was extremely close. It looked like Callie was gonna pull away with the victory, but Myles comes back at the last minute to secure the final spot in the top 4. From there, we headed into a warehouse where the final 4 had to complete a packing order, wrap our pallets, load them with the forklift, and put them onto shelves. And this was kind of all over the place. We had contestants who were great at one area, bad at another, and others who just abysmally failed at certain areas. And I really had no clue what the results were going to end up being. We saw Myles, he was quite slow at getting everything set up, but then was an absolute demon on the forklift, and it was enough to land him in first place. Then we had Danny, who was right around the middle of the pack for both the packing up of the pallets and operating the forklift, and it lands him in second place. And then we came down to Linda and Murph. Linda was the slowest on the forklift. Murph was the slowest at solving the pallets. And there was, they said, a 7-minute gap between the times of Linda and Murph in how long it took them to prepare their pallets. And I thought for sure that this was the end of Murph. There was no way that Murph was going to be able to overcome that deficit to make it to the finale. But as we all saw, Linda was just driving so slow. Like you just wanted to scream at the TV, like, Linda, go faster. You could even hear the other contestants like trying to tell Linda, you have to drive faster. But it just didn't matter. She was slow and methodical. And in the end, it costs her a spot in the finale. And Murph slips into the finale by the skin of his teeth. So that leaves us with Danny, Myles, and Murph heading into the final challenge. This final challenge was a mixed bag. It had a bunch of features from other challenges that we had seen throughout the season. There was bale stacking, if you remember Michelle and Lee going to overtime on the farm challenge. There was unwrapping chain from Lynette and Young going into the very first overtime of the season. We had more wood sawing, and ultimately this was a massive endurance challenge. We saw Danny get out to a blazing start. I was absolutely flying, but in several of these challenges, especially the longer endurance challenges, we've seen Danny take big leads and then slowly lose that lead and just hope that that lead is enough for him to win. You know, we saw it in the wood challenge, the wood chopping challenge from this first part of the finale. Danny takes the huge lead and ends up losing in the end to Linda. And on this final challenge, Danny's just out to this enormous lead. He's so far ahead. Murph is in second place and Myles is just in a quagmire, stuck in third, and it looks like Danny is going to run away with this victory. And then all of a sudden, Murph starts to catch up. Murph starts to close that gap. Came down to sawing the logs for the final stage, and Danny started to lose ground. And then all of a sudden, Murph was in front, and Danny completely lost the ability to saw. He was holding the saw wrong. He couldn't make any progress. He was not letting the saw do the work. And you could even hear people yelling at Danny. Danny, let the saw do the work, but he got frustrated. He was changing angles, changing everything, just couldn't get going. And then all of a sudden it clicked on him. He had to switch his hand, change how he's holding the saw. But at that point, Murph had caught up to Danny, passed him, and took a commanding lead. And right as we see Danny get things back together, it's time for Murph to ascend and become the first champion of Tough as Nails. I was elated to see Murph win. I would have been very happy if Danny won as well. All season long, the story was Danny versus Murph. So kind of awesome that both the team final and the individual final came down to head-to-head battles between those two. I would have been real happy if Danny won, real happy if Murph won, and I both think they were so deserving of being our final two competitors on this season of Tough as Nails. I really enjoyed this show. It was nice seeing a reality show that was just filled with normal people. These were people that I would feel like you would have an encounter with on a regular basis. And it's so refreshing to see that. Like, I don't want to see every reality show full of 20-something hot bodies. I'm over it. Show me some real people. I want to see real people like me in situations. I want to see people I can relate to, people that have like unique stories, different backgrounds. Those are the kinds of people I want to see on reality shows, and for the most part, we just don't see them. So this was a very refreshing show to watch, and was so happy that CBS decided to take this route and go with this show. I also really appreciated the little catch up that we got for each of our competitors right after the finale. It was good to see just sort of where everybody's at, what they're doing now, and just to try to have a brief glimpse into their lives to just see them all one more time before the end of the show. All right, I think that wraps everything up. Thank you all so much for the support on doing all of these Tough as Nails recap. caps. I was a little leery about doing them, but so happy with the response from everybody out there watching. I really appreciate it as this channel slowly keeps on growing, and hopefully you will be here along for the ride as we continue to grow and cover more reality TV moving into the future. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later.